I had my first migraine flare-up in a few months, and I'm honestly struggling a lot, and I'm really tempted to not record this, but it's a side of myself that I want other people to see, because I know that a lot of people struggle with chronic pain and chronic illness and other health conditions that feel really defeating, just like I do. And I want to tell a little bit of my story and how I navigate this part of myself without losing total faith in my body or feeling like I have no control over my life. So I get chronic migraines. I've gotten them for over 10 years. I'm 26. I've gotten them since right around the time that I hit puberty. And I get hemiplegic migraines, which means that they mirror a stroke, which means that I'm laughing because they're just insane. Like it's messed up. But I lose functioning of usually one side of my body. If you draw a line right down the middle, today it was the left, usually it's the right, which is kind of funky. And I get like pins and needle tingly feeling in that whole side, even just like one side of my lips this morning was tingly, but not the other half, my tongue, one eye. I don't have proper vision. I don't have peripheral vision. I lose my balance. I slur my speech. I can't find my words. And I also get a ton of pain in my head. And about 6 months ago, I was struggling severely with migraines, worse than I ever have in my life. And I was having one single migraine that would last anywhere from a few days to, I think the longest one was like 24 days, like three and a half weeks. Yeah, that was rough. So I've done so much work internally with my health and my mindset, and changing my environment, changing how I respond to things, changing my lifestyle to release 95% of my migraines, which is really amazing. But today I woke up and I got one. I woke up feeling okay, like I honestly felt fine, and I didn't sleep good. I definitely had some like stressful dreams. Most of my migraines are triggered by like stress, hormones, or something in my environment. My theory today is that I was sleeping in a room in Bali, Indonesia, where I live, that had some mold in it for a few days, and I think that that was the main trigger. But I woke up feeling okay, tired, and I was getting ready for a client call. I always wake up an hour before I have to see my clients because I want my brain to wake up. I was doing my morning routine, making my coffee, and was doing something with my hands, and all of a sudden just realized like I didn't have peripheral vision. I didn't have connection like brain to body. Like I don't know how to describe it, but like I would try and pick things up and I would miss. And I was like, I literally out loud was like, fuck, I have a client in 30 minutes, mind you. I have 2 in a row. And I was like, is this really happening right now? This hasn't happened in so long. Like, I don't know what's going on. And sometimes I get a little paranoid because it's happened so many times and the pain is so severe that, you know, I misinterpret some body signals. But nope, I was right. I very soon after that started to lose my balance. I'm just really scatterbrained when this happens because like I can't remember what I'm doing. I'll cross the room and then not remember what I was going to grab, and I was really all over the place. I'm all over the place now, only like 6 hours later. Still not feeling great, but really wanted to capture the reality of this. And yeah, I started to lose my peripheral vision. I started to lose functioning of my left side. I immediately went through my migraine routine, which is taking an abortive over-the-counter medication and drinking electrolytes, having a small amount of caffeine, putting an ice pack on my spinal cord, dimming the lights, wearing sunglasses inside. Like I know the steps. I know what to do. And I actually felt okay to take my call. It was also really, really last minute, and I'm so for prioritizing myself, but it was really last minute and I really didn't want to have to cancel on these clients. So I took my first call, wore my like tinted sunglasses, not full on sunglasses, and was okay. And then 5 minutes before it's about to end and we're about to change, so I'll change clients, she'll leave, the next one will enter my waiting room on Zoom. I got the tingly feeling, and this is like a line down the center of me lost feeling of my lips, of my tongue, my vision started to blur, my speech really started to fall apart. I couldn't complete thoughts, I couldn't find the words. And this is an hour of after taking my medication and doing all these things. I had the ice pack on my neck like during the call because she's an established client, so it's okay. She didn't think I was too crazy. And I really did feel all right, you know, sometimes the symptoms come on and then they pass. But all of a sudden I said to her, I was like, I'm so sorry. I know we have 5 minutes, but I need to get you booked in for next week. And then we need to end because I'm losing my vision. And I canceled my next client, of course. I then went into a full migraine attack, which was, you know, really painful. And because all of the symptoms come first, and then when they fade, the pain comes. And it's unlike anything else. And yeah, I canceled the next call. I feel so terrible when that happens, not just about having to cancel on a client, but it just makes me feel like I have no control over my life. Like I'm doing this against my will, essentially. I don't want to be canceling. I don't want to be not showing up for this person. I thought I was okay, but my body said otherwise. And that is really frustrating. And long story short, I spent my morning going back to those steps, more ice pack, dark room, sunglasses, meditation, certain hertz frequency, like anti-migraine frequency, things like that. And I spent maybe an hour and a half just trying to power down my body and regulate. And I started to feel okay. But even when I take the meds, even when I pull myself out of the symptoms, I'll just feel like like a battery that's been drained. Like I'm not emotionally tired, I'm not physically tired, I'm mentally tired. Like if my brain just overheated for 2 hours and I'll just feel zapped like this, like almost like I'm jet lagged or like hungover all of today, probably all of tomorrow, depending on how I sleep tonight, which I'll probably sleep really heavy tonight and still wake up not feeling great, because again, my brain is just so exhausted. And that's how I'll feel all day today. And it's really frustrating because I basically had to cancel all my plans. Not that I had any crazy plans, but I have plans to work. I had plans to exercise and to honor my nutrition, to cook a meal I was excited for, right? And now food sounds disgusting. I can't exercise or I'll re-trigger the migraine. I can't use computer screens. I'm doing okay filming this right now, but I'm being very mindful. My phone screen is actually set to like a red light so that it doesn't trigger my eyes as much. It's like if you make the yellow night mode go all the way up, my phone lives in the red mode for days. In early 2024, I don't think it came out of the red mode. I don't think I stopped wearing sunglasses inside for many months. And so yes, this is just a day, but these days are so hard because they really just feel like I'm being knocked down all over again. And physically now I'm feeling all right, you know, really drained. Can't have too much bright light, need to stay in a cool, dark room, can't work on my computer, can't really do much of anything. Sometimes reading is okay, but usually not. I kind of just have to wait until I'm tired enough to fall asleep. Emotionally, I feel a lot of things. And I actually went to a breathwork class, which can be helpful sometimes if it's not going to make the migraine worse. And I felt okay to go, so I went. And if you're not familiar with breathwork, it is really tapping into connecting the mind and the body and releasing a lot of emotions and limiting beliefs, thoughts, whatever it is that you need. And I went really deep in that session and I just cried a lot. And that's pretty representative of how I'm feeling. And I'm gonna talk more in this video about how I navigate this, but I just wanna tell more about my experience because I just know how many people that struggle with chronic migraines or migraine disease or chronic pain or chronic conditions or just health problems in general, like how invalidating it can feel to share these kinds of stories, because when you present your pain to other people, they get really uncomfortable, and they'll very often, even if they say they're trying to help, they'll try to problem solve you or change the subject or blame it on you. You must be doing this, you must not be doing that. And I think that it's one of those things that people who haven't been through it in some way themselves, they've really struggled to experience. It feels a lot like grief, because it is grief. And when I spoke to one of my clients about, who has also chronic migraines and mild chronic fatigue, she and I had a long conversation about how this is grief, because you do grieve the life that you don't get to have. Like, what I'm grieving today is that I love to run, and I can't go running whenever I want because I have to factor in my hormonal cycle and how hot it is outside and how much water I've had and the time of day, not just to feel okay like the average person was, but to not put myself into a potentially 24-day migraine. Like, I have to be so serious about the smallest of things, like how much I sleep and how hot it is outside, and if I have too much sugar and all this stuff. Like, yeah, and someone that doesn't get it, they'll just label me as victim, label me as complaining, and it's really not that. I really do feel so lucky to be alive, but this is a really hard part. It's been a really challenging part. So my client and I, we spoke about how to navigate that grief. And I told her that you have to feel it. The same way that when, someone passes away, people expect you to be sad because you're feeling the pain of loss. However, the pain of loss in chronic conditions is not recognized as much, I think, because it's not as tangible and it's not as talked about. But I am grieving, the vision I have for my life that can't manifest, at least not right now, with the means that I have, because of this condition. And I'm not defeatist, I'm just realistic, and that's hard sometimes. And the going through the grief is an essential part of letting it go and moving past it. And so only once I was able to sit in that grief and say to myself, you are someone that struggles with chronic pain. This affects your life. And it's okay to admit that. It's not weak to admit that. It's not weak to acknowledge that. It's not shameful to struggle with this, because there's something about like having any sort of health concern that I feel like people just push away, I think, because it scares them. So I had so much imposter syndrome for so long. One of the reasons that I didn't get help with this for so long is because I just told myself it wasn't that bad. I didn't admit that it was chronic, even though it is. It so is. And I can do a whole other video about how I got off birth control and changed my fitness and nutrition, and went through a lot of trauma healing and therapy and mindset restructuring in order to heal from this. But what I really wanted to talk about today was what it feels like to be in it and how to still have body acceptance in that time. And so, yeah, having a migraine flare-up is exhausting, and it really makes me change how I live my life. And I've heard this from a lot of clients who have had chronic pain and chronic conditions, and how misunderstood we can feel. But one of the hardest parts of this in my experience is not being angry at my body. So I'm very frequently frustrated with and angry at my body when I have a migraine flare-up, because it feels like I'm trying so hard to take good care of myself and I'm still being punished for, I don't know, not doing good enough or not being good enough. It feels like punishment somehow, and it's really hard not to be angry at my body. And how do you have body acceptance when it feels like your body is attacking itself? Like, how do you have body acceptance for a body that is in chronic pain or chronically ill or has a condition that you never asked for, you never wanted, right? And it's been very difficult, but there has been 3 gifts that being someone who experiences chronic pain, 3 gifts that it's given me. And this is all about choosing a perspective that allows me to keep living my life, because it's really easy to fall into that grief and stay stuck in it. And I really do want you to be able to honor the grief the same way I have, the same way I have to every time I have a flare-up. but I don't want you to get stuck there, because that's where your life and your autonomy stops and the chronic pain or the chronic illness takes over and takes charge. And that's not what I want for myself. It's probably not what you want for yourself, to feel like you have no control over your life. So the first gift that being someone who has struggled with chronic pain has given me is the wisdom at 26 that most people don't get until they're much, much older, and it's too late in some cases, that without my health, I have nothing. There is nothing like losing your health, not being able to get out of bed for days, not being able to even like send a single text message. Or one time I tried to listen to an audiobook, and listening to an audiobook in a dark room with an eye mask on, think just listening to an audiobook, that was too much. Like, I had to just be there, be awake until it was time to fall asleep and just sit in the pain. But now I understand more than I ever have before that without my health, I have nothing. If you don't have your health, then you don't get to have or build relationships or a career or fitness or nutrition, or I don't know, you don't get to read books, you don't get to go on dates, like you don't get to go on trips, you don't get to do all of the beautiful parts of life if you don't have your wellness. And so whatever level of wellness you do have, it's brought me a lot of gratitude for it. And it's also made me fight harder than I ever have to maintain that. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm really, really grateful for that. And it's not easy. It's really not easy, to say the least. Yeah. The second gift it's given me is that I can relate to people who struggle with this too. And the thing about being understood in your chronic pain, in your chronic illness, in your health journey, is that I don't think we need to all have the same experience in order to understand each other. I think the key that I've learned to understanding others is empathy and understanding the emotions behind it. You don't need to have a chronic migraine to understand how I feel when I feel lonely and lost and abandoned and angry and frustrated and hopeless, and I feel that grief. You don't need to have the exact same experience as me in order to understand that. And so it's made me so much better at holding space for my clients as a life coach and as someone who works with a lot of people with chronic pain now. And it's made me more compassionate towards my parents, who at the end of the day are just people. It's made me more compassionate towards friends when they're upset, or they're upset with me, or when I'm upset with them. And it's really, really allowed me to see other people's humanity so much more clearly, and see that at the end of the day, no one likes to feel pain. And the last thing it's given me is more body acceptance, because there's nothing like feeling like your body is trying to make you as miserable as possible to kill you. Because months and months of migraines in 2024 left me with a messed up career, fucked finances, I wasn't working and making money, damaged social relationships because I was just hidden in my room, no fitness because I couldn't exercise, and that's just like its own loop, and really struggling with my mental health and my nutrition because I didn't have the capacity to take care of myself. It's really hard to have body acceptance for a body that is doing that to you. But the way that I've found that body acceptance is that I've learned to look at these other gifts. And my friend said to me today, who I'm in his house right now, he's babying me for the day, feeding me, taking good care of me, making sure I'm okay. And he said to me, you know, the truest form of acceptance is love. And I'm not one for toxic positivity. I'm not gonna hop on here and tell you to just be grateful for your horrible experiences with your health. I'm not gonna tell you to just look on the bright side of being someone that has to deal with this shit that most people won't understand. But I do feel grateful for the gifts that it's given me. And if this is something I'm gonna have to deal with either way, I'm gonna do my damn best to take care of myself, learn about it, and get better. And I've really made strides in that. That is a whole other conversation. But at the end of the day, crying about it and being stuck in that grief, being stuck there, not just feeling it, but being stuck there, it's not going to help me move forward. And so I will accept that I'm someone that has this experience and this condition, but I will not let it control me. And that's how I have the body acceptance, is I choose to love being someone who has chronic migraines and chronic pain. And it's really, really hard. It's really fucking hard. But if you think about love, part of love is grief, part of love is anger, part of love is fighting, part of love is not understanding, confusion. But at the end of the day, this is the body I have, this is the hand of cards that I was dealt, and I don't want to let my condition control me. I want to be in control of my life. So I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to figure it out. And if you want to figure it out along with me, then that's what I'm here for. I know this isn't like my usual videos that are super upbeat and teaching you something and super happy and excited, which is who I am most of the time, and who I get so angry at this chronic pain for taking that away from me. But I have to remember that, you know, that person is still here as well. So if you want to be along with me for the ride, you're not alone. I know that you are alone when you feel most of your pain. Like me, you should probably shut yourself in a dark room, don't answer your phone, don't want to be a burden. But you don't have to be alone, and you don't have to be living a life where your disease or your condition is in charge. You can still be in charge without neglecting this part of your reality. I love you.